Only one? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Her Excellency, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation and Francophonie, is ready for questions. She just finished her statement to the Security Council, and she'll take only 3 questions, not more. Thank you. Your Excellency.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm all ears. Please go ahead.
Okay. The UN peacekeepers have been in Congo for 25, going on 30 years. For as long as I've gone to Congo, since the mid-90s, the government in Kinshasa has very rarely controlled the Kivu region. Mm-hmm. Why can't the government control the Kivu region? There's dozens, some say hundreds of different militia groups. You've got the UN with billions of dollars over the last few years, haven't been able to do anything with their peacekeepers. Your military, sometimes they're in, sometimes they're out. Why can't the Kinshasa government control Kivu?
Well, I mean, I think when you look at Eastern DRC, you see a lot of challenges that we have at a national level in a much more concentrated scale. And obviously, because of historic vulnerabilities and because of the history of that particular region, those shortcomings that we have on many levels and also on a national scale are exacerbated. So I think this is why, in particular, the Eastern DRC is prone to instability and to challenges in terms of maintaining the state authority. Now, that in itself is a holistic question you're asking me. It would require a lot of time to explain it, but I think that it is linked to decades of not investing necessarily in the army, not equipping the army sufficiently, and investing also in its reform. These are efforts that President Tshisekedi has undertaken since taking office in 2019 and has continued to undertake. At the same time, it is unrealistic, unfortunately, especially for us, unrealistic to expect these things to change that dramatically in such a short time lapse. This is an ongoing effort, and this is an effort that we will continue, especially because, in particular in Eastern DRC, we see what these shortcomings have as repercussions. First of all, a humanitarian toll that is inaccessible and unacceptable to us, but also, as we see now, also the continued interference of neighboring states. So this is, if you want, a long-term effort that has to be maintained, that has to be sustained in order to address this shortcoming in terms of managing security in Eastern DRC, and it is something that we're strongly committed to. Even if in the actual situation there is a crisis and all attention looks or is concentrated on the crisis, these long-term efforts are still ongoing and are still a priority for the Congolese government.
Okay, so nothing will happen quickly militarily, in terms of your government's military being reconstituted and re-equipped. The UN military, sorry, they're not fighting. SADC didn't really show up to the fight. Unfortunately, some of their soldiers were lost. But you have, and the mercenaries cut and ran. What's the solution? If it can't be a political solution, because Rwanda will just stay there, M23 will just stay there.
No, I mean, the commitment to a political solution is one that is unwavering, first of all for the DRC, but also for all countries of the region, as well as for the Security Council. So I think it is an important takeaway to say that everyone is committed to a political solution. The fighting must end, and for that the Rwandan troops must withdraw. I think it's important also to highlight that the current situation that UN peacekeepers and peacekeepers from SADC are facing right now is, likely to a siege. They are surrounded by the M23 that is backed by Rwanda, that has invested millions of dollars in equipment, where the United Nations itself said a few months ago that they were outgunned and unable to match the firepower of the M23. So of course there is a disequilibrium, if you want, in terms of the firepower. But it does not mean that, first of all, the military approach, which we see clearly is the one that Rwanda has been privileging, is an acceptable one, especially not when the Security Council, but also the DRC, the country where this is happening, is refusing to engage only on a military level. We are looking for a political solution, and we're committed to it. The problem that we have is that despite the commitments that Rwanda, or the lip service that Rwanda serves to the cause of a political solution, when we look on the ground, we see desolation, we see the constant advance of the M23, we see executions of children, as reported by the OHCHR yesterday, and we see that Rwanda is not being faithful or keeping their words and not being sincere in engaging in a political solution. So this is why we urge the Security Council and we urge the international community to draw all the necessary consequences and hold Rwanda accountable. There will be accountability down the line. You know, when we look at the ICC, when we look at the Human Rights Council that is going to send a monitoring mission or evaluation mission or fact-finding mission, there will be accountability down the line. The reason why we urge the Council to take sanctions now and to take action now is to prevent. We're not in a system where we just react and document to human rights violations. We also have the obligation, the international community, the United Nations, we have the obligation to prevent human suffering, to prevent war. And this is why we come to the Council, to emphasize the need to prevent and to take robust action to prevent further war. Thank you.
Last question, very briefly. Lots of other world events going on, Sudan, Ukraine, the administration here in the US. It sucks up a lot of oxygen. Do you feel that DR Congo will be left behind?
We will never allow a country to be left behind. This is why I, as Minister of Foreign Affairs, come here to the Security Council to represent our country and to defend it. This is why we have a strong permanent mission here, also engaging in a robust manner with all member states of the Security Council and beyond, because we cannot afford to let our country be forgotten. Not just because it is our country, but because we believe in multilateralism and we believe in the equality of all member states. Thank you.